pause for a second to edit this bit out.
Yep. Matt,
Mick
edit
said,
this bit out. Don't leave it in.
yeah. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Always Strikes Last.
Exactly, where normally there are more voices competing to welcome you, but you
Exactly.
only have two.
We only have two. We were supposed to have four today. What's up with that? What is it? The real world is encroaching on the mortal realms plane of existence, and we have been delayed in our ability to bring you sonorous, dulcet tones of our various voices. And
Indeed. Who would have thought that trying to record across 8 hours of time zone differences in three places would somehow create these difficulties? Unforeseeable.
But we've got plenty to talk about today, which is excellent. And we're just going to kick it right off. And at the moment, we're waiting on two more to join. So if they do, we'll just edit them in and you won't even know about it.
Exactly. We'll get our 21st century summoning circle back online and hopefully get some of the expertise. Well, the main topic du jour today, guys, is Worlds. Worlds is coming. Some of us on this podcast have been playing in Worlds. Not myself. But Miles is on Team Ireland. And our special guest joining us shortly is Mick Wendell, who is also on Team Ireland.
Exactly. So that's very exciting. It's I feel like we don't, in the US, we don't get enough of the hype about this event. As I've gotten, from being here and going to some more international tournaments where like Worlds is a big thing. And I don't feel like we don't see it as much in the US because we're kind of removed from everywhere else.
That's true. And there's also that certain mentality, right? I mean, I don't think it's necessarily as prevalent in our wargaming community, but the whole like America doesn't like to look beyond its borders. Many people don't even travel.
Sure.
Many people only know one language, has sort of prevented us from probably being as international as we could be. Though I know that doesn't apply to Team USA, which of course is the far opposite side of that spectrum, and a whole bunch of great guys.
Absolutely. Team USA doing great. So they're going to be it's been revealed. We're actually playing them round one.
Did that happen last year?
I don't know if it happened last year, but that's what happened this year. So it's going to be great. We're going to have a great old time. And so,
nice.
So, the folks who are running Team Ireland, Ken and Mick and some others, graciously asked me if I would join the team this year, and so happy to be on the team. And so happy to show up. And I would be so stoked if we just finished middle of the pack, because that would be fantastic. Like, obviously, we're going for big wins. But, if I would be personally wildly happy to show up to a world championship event and not finish last. That's the dream. From what I understand, last year we did finish last. So as long as we don't do that again.
Look, there's a lot of positive potential movement here, and there's no negative potential movement. So you guys are in the best place to not be disappointed.
Exactly. Everything's up from here, up or even. If we come in last, then we did what everyone expected of us. So
I think it's a good starting spot.
Yeah. Let's see. World is comprised of 24 different teams from all over the world, as you may have guessed. Let's see. Australia, Austria, Belgium, Canada, Czech, Denmark, England, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Ireland, Italy, Netherlands, North Ireland, Norway, Poland, Scotland, Serbia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, USA, and Wales. Those are the big 24. I've always, and maybe I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but I've always found it a little bit cheeky that the UK can somehow submit 4 teams. Yeah, sometimes they're one team and sometimes they're 4 teams. What's up with that? Anyway,
there's some truth to that raised eyebrow. I mean, I guess they do have the maybe like the rights to it, but considering that Games Workshop
So considering they made the game, yeah, okay,
yeah,
fair enough. We'll give it to them just this once, and but other than that, we want to see this figured out.
It's definitely stacking the deck. Well, wait, so obviously what's the normal distribution of the UK teams? Because I don't quite know off the top of my head, though. I think I've seen them before in their various breakouts.
What do you mean?
Well, what are the 4 teams? Like
England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland.
Oh, you know what? That's right. I think they get to do that because of the whole United Kingdom bit.
Yeah. But like they don't have 4 Olympic teams. I don't think. Someone check me on that. Anyway.
Yeah, it's so funny. Well, I guess like the rivalry continues. I mean, like, Wales, the UK, really everyone on the island's been fighting for like a long time. So it continues here.
That's true. A healthy rivalry is good for everyone.
Yep. Well, let's talk a little bit about this. Obviously, there's some powerhouses who typically do really well at this, and I think Team USA has done a pretty good showing in prior years. I know been proud of all those guys and stuff and girls and stuff they've accomplished with it. I've heard good things about Team Wales. I think Team England. What other ones are you on the lookout for? I mean, like
sure. Team England is the team to beat. They won last year, if I remember. And they won. They also won Six Nations, which is a smaller international tournament that we talked about on this podcast. And so they're really the target is on their proverbial backs. So now they have 8 amazing players, so I'm sure they'll do well. But also, there is an element of pressure there that it can't be understated.
That's true. I mean, they're literally starting the opposite side of the spectrum from you guys.
Right?
Like, you guys are like the cool runnings in this situation. No one is ready for what's going to happen, but
exactly. I am. We'll get John Candy to buy us a sled. That'll be great. I don't know what the sled will do in terms of Age of Sigmar, but it'll be great.
Yeah, you guys can recreate the scene when you show up in Belgium, like taking off like 50 jackets or putting on 50 jackets, whatever it is. Maybe there's an appropriate analog for wargaming. I'm not sure what it is.
That'll be great. So the team is an 8-on-8 event, right? And so that means there's an intricate pairing process that happens every round, where each team like bids a player, and then you put some counter picks, and then the player with so you're trying to match up which player plays what, and that gives the opportunity to have some more interesting builds than you might see in a one-dayer event where everyone has to in a one-dayer event everyone has to win every game, right, in order for them to succeed. Whereas in the team event, it's okay to have losses as long as they are close and as long as your wins are big. So it's okay so you end up with some more varied and different builds than you might see coming out of sort of the normal tournament scene. So our good friends over at Honest Wargamer and T Sports Network did a fun breakdown of all the different factions that were represented to this year at Worlds. Jack, if you had to guess the top 3 factions in Worlds this year, top 3 or top 4, what do you think?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Lumineth Realm Lords definitely in there.
Okay.
For one. I think Gloomspite would be heavily represented. That's an idea. And I think Karad and Overlords would be like literally everywhere. That's my guess.
Nice. Those were all in the top 4, yeah. And Disciples of Tzeentch bringing up the top. That's the top 4 teams. Gloomspite having the most, and then so about 20 each of those 4 armies, and then it drops down from there. Beasts of Chaos in 5th place in terms of popularity with 15, Hedonites, and then Slaves of Darkness and Blades of Corn. So
wow, I was close. I was close.
Yeah, 71 players are a 1-drop.
Oof.
I Haven't done the math, but I think it's more than 50%. I can see the tallies here. I'm not going to get them. Obviously, we're not going to get the math done in time. The podcast has already started.
Yeah, close to it, close to it. But it's still a lot, right? It's like the people that want to go first are going to be disappointed more often than they think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And so we're all we're all playing the all the missions, trying to get ready for the event. Another fun little wrinkle about the pairing system is that we're all going to be playing different missions in a given round.
Oh, that is so weird. So wait, it's not like all of the minigame pairings are to beat the same mission. Are you also selecting the mission at the same time? Is it like...
Yeah, they're in order. Yeah, yeah. So I don't have it in front of me, but I think I know round one, the first mission to pair for is in the presence of idols, and then it goes to battle lines drawn, and then there's some other. So we get over the course of 6 rounds, we're going to play every mission twice, or one of us is going to play every mission twice. Wait, no. Someone is playing every mission. And every mission will get played twice. But I will probably play only a small subset of missions. Personally.
Yes. This makes sense.
Right?
Well, you'll be matched into the ones which are favorable for your list, which I believe is
ideally.
the Magickin of Nurgle. Yeah, well, that's the hope, and that kind of adds another layer to it. I really like this pairing system mini game because, as you were kind of alluding to earlier, it's neat to be able to build a spoiler list to help the overall objective, and not just have to do all comers all the time.
Right. No, and making sure you have someone on your team that can play Lurkers Below, right? The instant win mission, or one that can play. What's the other one that's kind of janky in this book? Twists and Turns. Right. Someone who has the board presence to sort of deal with that mission. So yeah, it should be a pretty exciting event. Obviously, it's in Amsterdam this year. That'll be exciting just for Amsterdam reasons.
Let's do that. So I'll make a sound effect. Oh, bad summoning circle sound effect. Mick has joined us.
All
2
right.
have become 3.
Mick, welcome to the chat.
Cheers, lads.
Welcome.
Mick is fellow Team Ireland member, and we're chatting about Worlds. The most what everyone else is chatting about, right? That's what you should be chatting about this month. It's the biggest thing in Warhammer, obviously.
Nothing else in Warhammer matters right now.
So we were wondering earlier, Jack had a question about the history of Team Ireland.
Yeah, like how it's going, how it's been growing. Maybe a question like, did you guys play USA round 1 last year too? I thought I saw like a Twitter screenshot or something from Noah that made it seem like that was the case. So I was a little bit curious.
No, I just, I suppose, bonded with Team USA for a few hours while I was over there, and I stole his pants.
Nice.
Classic.
That was nothing to Warhammer. I that's how I roll. I just demanded his pants. Had a good chat with the team though. It's one of those things that I follow a lot of people on Twitter, and they just resonated with the guys in the USA. Like, I Bill for playing whatever the hell he wants to play and just enjoying Warhammer. Noah for just crushing it, obviously, and the rest, like the other guys in the team. Just again, it was more of a case of I really like following those people for their personalities, or just for what's the name of the American? What are they called? What's their team called?
Are you thinking the Wicked Dicey crew? We're pretty affiliated with
or Tough Crowd, or that's
Tough Crowd.
There's a few of them, yeah.
Tough Crowd kind of reminds me of what it's like to just be a person in Ireland, where everything's very close, and everywhere you go, it's like everyone's real welcoming. So like Tough Crowd, I was like, that's cool. I really like Tough Crowd in general. So I just got on really well with the guys over there. Had a bit of fun with them, and I'm really looking forward to playing them and smashing them.
And I think you guys will have such a good time.
Smashing to be determined.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the goal. That's the goal. I mean, that whole crew is just comprised of great people. And so I totally get that. So I can't imagine you won't have an amazing time. And if any of them are listening to this podcast, because we do have some friends over there. are we telling you real things, or is it all smoke and mirrors and misdirection in anticipation of a spicy round one fight? Up to you to decide.
Or
Exactly.
misdirection.
Get into their heads.
Exactly.
We have an insider. We actually we imported Miles last year. This is all a ploy to get inside America's head, so we know.
I'm playing the long con.
Yeah,
Indeed.
a really long con.
The fifth column, Agent M.
Yeah, yeah. Team Ireland in general, though, it's been like when we started, we had no community for Age of Sigmar, really. Like when Six Nations started years ago, we literally just had 8 people were playing in the local games workshop of all places.
Sure. Oh, geez.
And we just had a kind of a team of people who turned up. That was it. You know, bums in seats. Year 2, a couple more people who'd actually played and understood the game and were a bit more attuned with competitive Warhammer, and then it kind of progressed from there. I think I captained the team for like 4 or 5 years in a row because we just had so little input from we didn't have a community in Ireland really at all. We finally got to our team where we were like, we're happy with having people compete for the team, and then COVID came, and COVID really hurt Ireland for Warhammer. Like we just literally had 2 years of no Warhammer. And I don't know if it's an Irish thing, but most of us didn't really take to TTS. So
we tried it. Jack and I, we definitely gave it our best, and it's tough.
Yeah, it is. It's tough.
Oh yeah.
I found it very disengaging. I would sit on my phone during my opponent's turn. I just didn't care. If I'm not sitting in a room with a person, it's not as exciting. So I just didn't have the hunger for TTS, and I don't think I saw it with other people either. We had a great relationship with the guys up the north, so we played a lot of cross-border events. Like they go up to us, we come down to them, and that sort of thing. But I set up a league as well during all that. Kind of slight comp where I was like, you had to play a certain list, you could make changes like roster changes, stuff like that.
Okay.
I set up a league, and it was over the course of like 6-7 weeks. So we played that during COVID on TTS. And that kind of got people's juices going with different lists. But then when we came out of COVID and we actually started playing tournaments again, it was very slow for the Irish community in general. We just didn't have players. People weren't playing. So like the same 3 or 4 people were playing each other. And then we went to Six Nations. I'm not sure which. Six Nations was the first one actually. And like we realized how hopelessly outclassed we were because, we hadn't been playing Warhammer. Literally just nothing. I think one of the guys on Team England had more games than the entire Team Ireland combined in that year.
Oh wow!
So it was very. So now we're kind of playing a lot. We're back to playing a lot more Warhammer. Because Worlds was the same. Sure, Worlds wasn't too far after, and Worlds was the exact same. We were still hopelessly outclassed at Worlds. But now we're starting to play a lot more, and we've got a lot more competitive players. Back from the old fantasy days. We got like half our team is back from the old fantasy players. We kind of recruited them back in.
We got a competitive War Machine player as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Watch out.
Nice.
But they'll tell you exactly what the range is. It's like, oh no, touching the objective.
Transferable set of skills for this game.
That's very true. That's very true.
We're talking about. It was funny you said that actually because we're talking about the whole holy within and within rules and all that sort of stuff like that. Listen, you've got to be careful with that. And he goes, listen, man, I just came from War Machine, where everyone's a dick, and you bring circles with you just to make sure that you're wholly within those ranges.
Yeah.
So he's well used to it. But so we're finally kind of back to a position where we've got not just a good team. It's not like I'm not saying we had a bad team in the past, but people who are committed to a competitive environment as opposed to just wanting to show up. There's nothing wrong with the team we had before in terms of the people. The competitive drive wasn't in them to do that. Do you know what I mean? And that wasn't their hobby, but they were really good to us in that they gave us the opportunity to make a team. So if it wasn't for those guys, we probably wouldn't have been to any of the Six Nations before. So everyone plays their part. We're all a community.
I'm excited to be on the team this year, and it seems like we got a pretty exciting lineup. I guess our lists are all public domain at this point. So for those following along at home, I'm playing the Maggotkin of Nurgle, which if you follow me on Twitter, you may have picked up on because it's like the only thing I ever post.
Carnival Chaos.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Mick, you're playing the ever loved Lumineth Realm Lords.
Yeah, I'm a fluffy player, you see, so I was just playing.
For the narrative.
I really like that one story where Teclis shows up with like 30 archers and nothing else.
Yeah.
You know?
Narrative.
Like lore-wise, Teclis is a portal, so he shows up in every battle.
Yeah. Teclis shows up with 30 sentinels and some scouts.
Yeah.
As you do.
Yeah.
I'm actually, you know what? When I first started playing Lumineth, I actually really didn't like them. I was playing Teclis before last Worlds. Didn't like Lumineth at all. Then I played a non-Teclis Lumineth list and really enjoyed that because I felt like I had an army.
Sure.
It didn't play like the Lumineth that I was expecting because I wasn't playing the like regiments and I wasn't playing, all the standard stuff.
Yeah.
So I did a bit of everything. Had a bit of fun at Worlds last year. But then this year playing with Teclis and that, I think it's because every other army's kind of caught up a little bit. Lumineth are still strong, but it's no longer the kind of, I just cast 4 spells and, I don't need to play this game to know that this is bullshit,
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more enjoyable because the games are actually more difficult. Maybe I'm just getting worse at Warhammer, I don't know.
I think that makes sense.
I get that, yeah.
The power ramp this last 6 to 8 months has been pretty significant. Like every new book is like, oh yeah, you're here now to.
They're all kind of ramping to the same area though. They're like Gits came out and everyone thought this was the best thing ever. They're really good, but they've got some really bad matchups. They've got some kinks that you can exploit, and as well, I think they're really good. I'm just really happy with the direction all the books are going. Like before a couple of years, I say before COVID, just the easiest benchmark, we had armies at 38% win rates, and we had armies at 80% win rates. Like the OG Hedonites of Slanesh.
Oh sure.
Yeah. I hope the person who read this book is listening to that because you're a moron. whatever you thought going into that book was just ridiculous. And whoever edited it, the editor, the whole team just needs to look at themselves and go, wow guys, we done fucked up that book. But now it's gone from 38 to 80% win rates down to, we are at that kind of 50 to 60% win rate. Like we're still getting misnomers, but I don't think you can count when a book gets released.
Sure.
Because when a book gets released, you have a very small pool of players that jump in and go, right, here we go, I'm going to play KO when they've released. And they go, I know how to play this because I managed to get 10 games in the last week because I'm able to. And then I jumped into a tournament and I won 5 games. Cool. So the 3 KO players in the world that are really good at the game, really good, and they just win a tournament, all of a sudden it spikes
spikes the win rate. And then you get a bunch of people who are like, oh, KO are good. Now let me go get a KO army. What is this? How does this work?
Exactly. You have all the people come in and join the party, and that evens it out because that shows how it doesn't matter what army came out, it doesn't matter what the hot thing is. If a small group of top players, and I don't mean like the best players, I just mean decent players, go to a bunch of 2-day tournaments around the world, that's just going to spike those averages straight away.
Sure.
So you have to take the stats with a pinch of salt. They are muddled in the sense that there's a mix of competitive players, narrative players, and you've got to take into consideration submarining. Like there's so many.
I always really enjoy on the 40K side when they do those stats how Space Marines are always super duper low because everybody has a Space Marines army.
Yeah. That's step 1 to 40K. Always have a Space Marine army because they'll be good for the 6 months after the new edition, but then have a good army as well.
Yeah, exactly. If only Stormcast were like that.
Dragons, man. Did you forget dragons? Oh, they've had true. Treatment. Don't forget when Evocators first hit the the Gavriel Sherbomb. I took them to a 1-dayer just for the crack, and it was it was bad. It was bad.
And yet there are only 3 Stormcast players coming this year to Worlds.
Really? Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if they're dragons. We'll find out some other time that's not on the podcast. There's There's more Skaven lists than there are Stormcast lists.
Skaven, what is 4 Skaven lists this year?
4 Skaven lists, yeah. And I have to assume it's all, I haven't looked through them all, but I have to assume it's all Storm Fiends. Yeah.
The other problem as well is that you have, I think you have armies which played a certain way for so long. And then what happens is the book gets a massive shift in how it's played.
Mm-hmm.
And in certain cases, someone cracks it and they play it loads. And that works well for armies with really fantastic ranges and with big player bases. So Stormcast can have a massive player base. Everyone has a Stormcast army, or at least has access to one, or will easily start one because it's spray gold, wash, done. So accessibility to play. So your Stormcast armies, your Stormcast players, when they come out, there's going to be hundreds of Stormcast players, right? Because you can. It's just so easy to beat. However, Skaven have a shit range. They have 4 or 5 good kits, the new kits, like the Storm Fiends are cool. The all the new plastic kits, the big ones, they look cool and all that. But they're a niche army. Like you don't look at you wouldn't the average person wouldn't look at a Skaven army and go, that's a really nice looking army. Like they're brown rats. They look terrible to the. I suppose on average they look terrible. I'm trying to think.
That's a fair point. They're an interesting choice for the average person.
I really like the idea though, Mick, that the army has been played the same way. So like the Storm Fiends build that we tend to see, that we're assuming is what people are bringing to Worlds, right? People have been playing that Storm Fiends build for like a year, maybe more. Right? I think it was still a build in the last book. So they've been playing the Storm Fiends kind of castle for a long time. There may well be a significantly better way to play Skaven that no one has decided, as no one has figured out yet. Possibly. Because so many people are just like, oh, Skaven, what do I do? 9 Storm Fiends, dope. Call it a day.
And it's almost like the wagon wheels have already found their rut. There's no innovation right now there. Okay.
One thing we've been looking at, because we were saying we're matched up against Team USA in the first round, and one thing they are doing really interestingly is their Caradron Overlords player, Zach Kennedy, who I haven't had the pleasure to meet, but I'm excited to hang out with in Amsterdam, and just got to throw that in every chance I can. Yeah, we're going to Amsterdam.
I'm so jealous of the time you guys are going to have. Have a beer and a brownie for me.
Yeah, right.
Just one, Jack. Just one.
Just one. Yeah. Miles knows I'm the spirit of moderation, so I'm
sure. But we look through the KO list for all of Worlds, and 98% of them are 20 to 30 Thunderers in an ironclad with a bridge and enough characters to buff them up exactly once.
Yeah, no skill.
Right. And
Captain no skill.
Zach's list is 18 Endrinriggers across 3 frigates with a smattering of characters. And that, to me, as a former KO player, is such a KO player's list.
Yeah, it's Admiral Awesome versus Captain No Skills.
Yeah.
All the shooting KO players, they don't want to get close to you because they don't want to fear the reprisal of the return combat. So they're afraid that, but I can shoot you from far away, and even if I don't get my precious double, I'm not going to get hurt too much. So I'm going to play shooting. Whereas a real KO player, Zach the man, he's coming in and he's just going to put dwarfs in your face. I'm like, where do dwarfs belong? With a hammer or an axe in your face?
Right, up your face. With a we will take a steam-powered chainsaw as needed. If we can't get a hold of an axe or a hammer.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion with this. Yeah.
I'm super excited to see how his list plays because I am a very I'm very KO phobic. I have no idea what it does, and every time I play against them, I'm terrified. Because I'm just like, they can go anywhere they want and they can shoot anything they want and they can do it. Like I just can't deal with it. It's just too much. So like, don't listen to this USA. But KO is one of those anti-Mick armies. No matter what I play, I feel like you've got a bad matchup against KO.
And again, to add some misdirection or not, either completely accurate or he has played them 100 times without a loss. Oh, no one knows.
I just got to put away my KO army.
Yeah.
Let me stop working on this wiki I have going on all the intricacies of the army for a moment.
We'll have Goonhammer strike my name off of the start competing article.
I will say, though, I totally agree with that. This is going to be really fun to see on the table and played. Presumably, like a bit more in your face, a bit more aggressively. I want to see these Aether Marines, making these 18-inch charges and doing stuff. That'll be cool.
Yeah, Team Ireland. We're gonna have a really excellent matchup first round. Just smash them to bits. That's the level of confidence we're going in with.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be excellent.
Well, it's funny. So we actually have a lot of, as I was going back there to the composition of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the days of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, we were actually the Team Ireland was actually quite a formidable team.
Mm-hmm.
I think making top 10 at ETC in the past before it was called AOS Worlds. So half the team now is players from that era. We have behind the scenes coaching from several players as well.
That's true.
So we've been this year. We feel like at least we've given it our best shot, and we can't turn around and go, listen, guys, we didn't really do much. So Ken Chambers is the captain this year. He's also been a past captain of the Warhammer Fantasy team, and I'm trying to think now. He's pretty old. But I'm trying to think. I think he's like a 20-year veteran of the Team Ireland.
Oh wow!
Yeah, like he's been around as long as the furniture has. Same with James, our War Machine / Fire
Slayers.
He's also been around for a good 10, 15 years of competitive Warhammer. So yeah, we've got a good committed team this year.
Oh yeah.
As well as some new blood as well. So it's a nice mix of experience, old blood and new blood. It's I'm really excited for this year for that reason alone.
Absolutely. No, and it's been super exciting just getting in practice games with everybody, because every single one of them is a tough match, and it's really makes you feel like you have earned it to give I always have to remind myself, this army is going to Worlds, this player is going to Worlds, and that's why this match is tough.
Yeah.
I guess that's fair.
Whereas I'm playing my Worlds list. Why am I not smashing people? What the fuck? Yeah.
That's true.
Tough, though. But Miles, as you highlighted there a few weeks back, was that pressure that's lifted off you when your purpose is not just to win games, when your purpose is matchup dependent.
Sure.
So if you go into a good matchup, you're meant to win the game. But if you're as a player, if you are designed to take bad matchups, or to just get a certain amount of points that are quite achievable, and we are learning how to achieve those points quite comfortably.
Right.
Because you have to play the game differently when you're not playing to win, right?
Right. No, exactly.
And that's a big difference. That's a huge thing that when you're playing Team Warhammer, and it's one of the things that kind of has evolved properly with Worlds and Six Nations over the past few years, where when we first started, it was just you win or you lose. You get 20 or you get nothing. And then they tried to introduce the 20, 15, if you only win by a little bit, you only get 15 points. But it still wasn't really enough because you're still getting smashed. But now the fact that if you lose the mission, but you have only lost by a point or two, that you're getting 9 points, which is huge.
Right, it's a 9-11 as opposed to a 0-20.
Oh, that's
exactly,
massive.
Yeah. So that's a really big deal. And Worlds have made it very difficult for you to get 20-0 this year. You'd want to be really dropping your guard to get 20-0. And dice can really affect it, though. Don't get me wrong. The dice and doubles and everything, they're real. So don't feel bad, guys, if you do get 20, unless you're on Team Ireland, then you have to feel real bad. But the reality is that the development of the rules pack over the years has really made for the games to be more something to fight for. So if you go into a mission and you go, listen, pal, you just need to get 6 points. You're like, great. That means if I get what 18 points throughout the game and my grand strat, it's impossible for me to not get 6 points. You know?
Right.
So it's a nice way of looking at it.
Yeah. If I can score 3 5-point turns and then eke out a couple extra points here and there, I've got this.
And you should be able to get that in most games because nothing happens on turns 1 and 2 unless you've got the Alpha Strike, armies. But that's what Team Warhammer is all about. You choose your matchups.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going into a matchup where you're going to lose 20-0, then anything you get above 0 is a win, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
So, so that's it's a nice way of look. It's a good way to look at it, and that's why I like Team Warhammer so much, because it's not always about the win; it's about the team, and it's a very different game. A very different game.
No, and the thing that I've been learning is the skill of playing while you're losing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. To like, how do I get? All right, I can comfortably get 3 more points. How can I get a 4th point? How can I get a 5th point?
Mining
how do I
crucial points?
Exactly. How can I just squeeze 1 or 2 more points out of the scenario? Whereas, maybe in a single player tournament, I would have been like, cool, that's it. I'm going to go have lunch.
Yeah. But you can do that in a single player tournament because it's only you. You've no one to answer to. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, exactly.
You answer yourself. And if you've decided that you are no longer enjoying yourself in a singles tournament, then you can go, listen, I'm actually, I'm done now. And that's okay. That's okay. But at the team, you have to be prepared to keep pushing. Go, just because you're losing the game doesn't mean you're losing. You're doing exactly what you've asked you to do.
Yeah.
So that's the good.
Yeah. What is it? For one of my favorite famous sports analogies, all the guys on the defensive team on football, just because they never score touchdowns doesn't mean they're not doing their job.
There you go. just because
I'm such a sports guy. Yeah. It's really the thing that we have me around for.
You are a semi-professional Warhammer athlete.
It's true. Stretching a different kind of muscle there, but it's
there we go.
But the other one, actually, just on a last point on changing how you play.
Mm-hmm.
Playing practice games has been an interesting exercise in changing how you approach a game, like changing your view on. I don't want to win this game. I want to see the intricacies of the interactions between the 2 armies that we're playing now, or turning up and going, I think you've got a good matchup against me, so I want to see how good it can be. And my aim is for, like, let's say, like, obviously you don't want to lose games, but when you're doing practice games for the likes of Worlds, I'm turning up going, how do you beat me? Because if I find out who you beat me, I can find out how to stop you to beat me. Or
right.
That's good for the team because now we know how you can beat that particular army. So it's another interesting approach to playing games, and a different type of enjoyment out of just showing up and just playing the game and going through the motions.
Yeah. And I had a great one against Floody where basically, the first time I played him, got absolutely wrecked. I had no idea what was going on. And then I was like, Floody, what is the worst possible thing that I could do during this game from your perspective? Like, what is the thing that my army could do that you would hate the most? And so when we talked it out in terms of like figuring out like, okay, maybe it is a bad matchup, maybe it's not a bad matchup, but we get that opportunity as teammates to be like, okay, let's pick this apart from both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Floody's another veteran of ETC of old days. He actually used to play Flames of War as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he's and 40k fantasy. He's jumped around different war games. What a nerd! As well. Yeah, he's another played for Team Ireland on pretty much all fronts, and also was a playtester for 40k for a while or something like that.
Oh wow!
He's really been heavily involved for a long time.
Yeah. So another sweat.
One thing you mentioned offhand, Mick, that I want to go back to is that the Worlds packet has been evolving over years, and one thing that I noticed right away when I read the Worlds packet was that all 12 missions from the GHB are in play.
Yeah,
and I know some of them are contentious, and yeah, fair enough. Some people don't like Lurkers Below, or they don't like what's the other one?
Twists and Turns. Is that the one you're thinking of? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But we've said this on this podcast before. I think those are important to include because that's the game. right? We're playing the game, warts and all. We don't get to play.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's almost critical to include stuff like that in something like Worlds, right? Because if you're going to break it out of a show up to a tournament, it's meant to be the balance packs for the all-comers list, and it's going to be like 4D chess, trying to mix and match the right opponents into the right circumstances. You're
Right.
doing more of a fun simulation of like a real battle or strategic kind of setup where, like, do you chase that army into the canyon? Is your army good in the canyon? This isn't like
Sure.
an everyday battlefield, but that's the kind of situation you try to create for yourself. And I think it's just really fun. Sounds like amazing to be a part of.
Yeah, I think the phrase I would use is "fuck it." You know, everything should be included. Why not? It's if you start picking and choosing what things you include and don't include, where does it stop? And it to bring back more on the old fantasy days when I don't know how much you guys played of old fantasy or if you paid attention.
A good bit.
We were old fantasy people. Yeah.
There you go. So you might remember the heavy comp that was on the likes of ETC and all the events. But in defense of using the comp, it was sorely needed. The power discrepancy between armies back in fantasy days was horrendous. However, that did cause a huge divide between the tournament scene and the rest of the hobby community. So tournament players were seen to be these absolute sweats that no one ever wants to play. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, the tournament scene wasn't as pleasant as the Age of Sigmar tournament scene. The Age of Sigmar tournament scene is a much more enjoyable experience than the fantasy tournament scene ever was. I really enjoyed fantasy. I actually, was very sad when fantasy disappeared, but I can't argue with the fact that the community has improved tenfold since he got rid of it. But part of it, again, part of the divide was comp. And having comp in there, and for anyone who isn't familiar with comp, it's basically your additional house rules that are implemented to balance between factions.
If you're a 40K player, I know ITC did a bunch with different levels of cover, having different restrictions back in the last edition, that kind of thing, which ended up actually getting rolled into some of the changes that Games Workshop made for 9th, oddly enough.
So they used to give extra points to some armies, do you remember? So like Tomb
Kings and
Chaos were the worst of the worst. And they used to have 2,800 points versus your 2,000 points, and they were still terrible. And as I said, that was needed back then to make the game a playable competitive game. But it's good that the game has been balanced by the company itself so that there's no barrier to entry from the rest of the community. Everybody's invited. It's just a case of, are you up for this or not? Like, there's people decide.
No, exactly.
Because they don't want to go to that level of competitiveness. But it's there.
Well, and Games Workshop is clearly making a show that they are at least attempting to really, balance the game and try to make it a fair, competitive, system. And I think they're doing a pretty good job. That's obviously a matter of opinion, but they're at least going for it, right? And if they are going for it, which they weren't in Old Fantasy, we'd be doing them a disservice to not try and play it as it is.
Exactly.
How could they fix it if we weren't using it properly?
No, exactly.
So, but yeah, like they've had their speed bumps, but then again, people have to remember that Age of Sigmar is 7 years old or something like that.
That's true. God, I feel old now.
Came out in 2016. Like, it is a very young game still. Like, I know now it's a case of now it should be fairly smooth sailing when it comes to books. They've had a lot of experience with introducing certain things. But like for those first 5 years, there was mad shit thrown around.
Sure, yeah.
It was so uncharted. Like, even the way the game was was brought out with no points, first of all.
Yeah, well, that was infamous.
That was dog shit. Like, that was dog shit. And I don't even think you can talk to Games Workshop employees are notorious for drinking the Kool-Aid and never speak a bad word about the Almighty Lord. But even that, I know, speaking to GW employees, are like, yeah, this is the most bizarre thing that ever happened. It shouldn't have happened. It's dumb. The whole, and all those rules about, let's bend our knee and I lose the game, or if my beard is longer than your beard, I get to reroll ones in this combat and stuff like that.
Yeah. But I always like the if you can roll 13 on 2d6 for the Skaven Bell, you win.
Yeah. And then you brought Kairos in before they FAQ'd how his Kairos roll worked, and you could actually get 13 on 2d6.
Oh, there you
go. I remember vividly getting the very first book they released when they brought out Age of Sigmar, and I was actually in the UK at the time for work. And I was sitting there like reading it, like in like the flat I was staying in, and it felt like there was nothing there at all. I was reading like a badly written young adult novel instead of a rule book or an intro.
Yeah. So the development, I suppose, the evolve, it's been a collective goal between Games Workshop and the community to get to where we are at the moment. Like I enjoy the game more now than I ever have because of the way that's come and because of the way the community has pushed their rules packs, and they've been changing things up. Like I went to Bloodshed in the Shard. Was it Bloodshed? Bloodshed, yeah, back in February. And they had a really cool set of awards for order, death, destruction, all that. But it wasn't just the best order, best death, best destruction by points. Each faction had its own criteria to win. So like if you were best in chaos, it was the best of your points and your opponent's points added together. If you were best order, it was something like the best, the most tournament points, or so. It was something real simple. And the destruction one was even simple. I can't actually remember them all. And the death one was the least amount of points killed, or something like that. But they all had their own different criteria to meet. So that was kind of a cool addition to a very, very highly competitive tournament. That there was still something, but they're just well thought out, something new put into them. But this is what I'm saying about rules packs evolving over time, people adding their own touches to them. They're starting to get a lot more enjoyable to play, and you go from event to event, and they're all different experiences. It's not just playing 5 more games of Warhammer,
Yeah. Yep. I think that's fantastic. I mean, you were saying like the game has come so far in this time to the awesome thing it is today, and the community has grown to be an awesome community. So you have kind of the double whammy right there, and it's just a pleasure to go to a tournament, spend time. Like I've heard some folks toss around the idea of like you hang out, you meet 5 friends if you don't already know them, and that's pretty true. That's really valuable.
I'm glad someone finally actually came out with what Noah came out with his five friends, not 5 and 0, because I've been banging on to people for years, going, my entire friend network is made up of people I've met over the tournaments for the past 15 years.
No, for sure.
Like that is literally like every time I go to a tournament in the UK, if I'm on my own, I'm never on my own.
Yeah.
Even if I go to America, because I've been connecting with people for years through WhatsApp, through Twitter, Worlds, I know for a fact that if I go to any state in America to a tournament, I'll meet someone that I either know or I've met before, and I'll have someone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Australia. I've actually been. There was a load of guys down in Texas that invited me over to Texas whenever I get there, because they were all part of the Ogre chat, and there was 3 guys in the Ogre chat, and it was like, oh, come on down, and we'll do a big barbecue. I'm like, I'm there as soon as I can get over. But it's just mad. I've met these people in my life, and they're welcoming them into their homes with their kids and everything like that. And I'm just like, Warhammer has just been incredible because of that.
Oh, absolutely. No, I think, I know Julia has said more than once, it's been really wild just to think that like this introverted hobby I picked up in 13 has been, shaping both of our lives for this long.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't think there's not many hobbies or pastimes that you could pick up on that would have this large of a worldwide community that you could just insert yourself into on anywhere. Like even if you're a football player, egg football or round football, doesn't matter which one.
Sure, yeah. Take your pick. Dealer's choice.
You do just associate with that club. You join a club, play, and you associate with that club, and they're your friends, Whereas in Warhammer, you associate with your local gamers, then you go to tournaments, and then you meet those guys. You go to other tournaments. Because if you go to a football game, you play against your opponent, they're the enemy. They are the enemy.
Yeah, exactly. And there's lots of them. Yeah,
there's lots of them. Yeah,
it's so true. It's sort of been my experience as well, but it's kind of magical, right? You go somewhere far afield with some traveling tournament, you show up, and you're just reconnecting with people, and it's like you got folks everywhere.
So Mick, just to bring us back to Worlds real quick and sort of wrap us all up. when obviously aside from making 8 plus new friends, what is
24 new friends?
Yeah, exactly, right. What is the thing that you want to have happen at Worlds more than anything else?
I definitely would like us to take a sizable jump up the ladder in the final standings, first of all, because I think we're a far better team than we have shown in the past. That's the first, but I think that's everyone's goal. So it's kind of a bit of a cheap air. But that's a really big thing for me. I'm probably not going to play Worlds every year from now on because I've got I'll have 3 kids after this Worlds. Mm-hmm. So it might be a case that I'm 1 year in, 1 year out sort of thing, or I might not do it again. This might be my last Worlds. Who knows? Might have 4 kids by the next one. But so I'd like us to really show that we what we can do rather than just turn up, have one of our players arrested. That would be nice if that didn't happen. But ultimately, the 2 things are that I want to do mostly is do well and meet people over there. That's the usual thing. It's a holiday before and after the games. So before the tournament starts and after the tournament's over, we've got a bit of a holiday, so enjoy ourselves over there a little bit. But to say, aside from meeting new friends, that kind of takes out about 70% of the reason why I play Warhammer.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm going to put that back on the table, Miles. And go,
okay, I see.
A few things, before it was just a case of let's show up and do our best. Now it's a case of let's do our best, but make sure that's good enough for us to give people a real run for their money. Not getting capped for the majority of our rounds would be great. Like a genuine goal of not being not just being given 40 points for free because the rules pack says so. Earning our points, having close rounds, they're my favorite. That's my favorite way to win or lose. It doesn't really matter, but having closer rounds means a lot more to me than anything else. So that I suppose that'd be it. Giving the teams that we play a good run for their money. Having 6 good games of Warhammer is going to be top of that list.
Oh, absolutely. And I think there is something so when you play somebody who is really, really good and you give them a good game, whether you won or lost, the mutual respect that you earn for each other is it's so amazing. So
Absolutely.
So we'll hope to win that in spades. That'll be the goal for Team Ireland 2023. Better than last year. And mutual respect and friends.
Better than last year is not a good enough target. That's why I didn't say it. Better than last year is still crap.
I'm excited to watch from the sidelines. I mean, honestly, anything from Cinderella story / the cool runnings joke I made earlier to something in between would be fantastic. I'll root for you guys.
Thank you.
Sounds
good. Well, hey, Mick, thank you for joining the podcast and getting on. And Matt, we missed you this week, but we will blow your mind next week with something to be determined.
Exactly, as well as everyone else who tunes in.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks to everybody for listening. This has been Always Strikes Last, and remember to always strike last, I guess.
Yeah, don't wait on it. Well, wait until the last moment.
But not after that.
Last.
Yeah.
I
got the last word.